Temperatures in the central and eastern United States are about to go well below average as the cool down I've been talking about for days is going to finally make its way on in, but that doesn't come without some of the storms on the leading edge of that front. We'll also see new storms as we go towards next week. I've got the details on everything you need to know on the pattern ahead right here, including some of my custom graphics. Happy late Tuesday evening or Wednesday, Thursday, whenever you're watching right here at One Nation Weather. Don't forget that many of the model maps I use throughout my videos are from WeatherBell, so you can check out their trial link down there in the description. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want more consistent, accurate, and easy to understand forecasting content in the future, make sure you're considering hitting that subscribe button as I push towards that 5,000 subscriber mark. One last reminder that timestamps are down there in the description in addition to that free trial link. You can use those to navigate this video and click to go to parts that you want to be at. But let's go ahead and get right into that future radar, that pattern overview for the next several days as we're still tracking a cold front that's extending from parts of Maine all the way back down here through the Ohio Valley, back on over to the high plains. This is as we go towards our Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, into the afternoon and evening. You see some of those deeper greens from especially the northeast to the mid-Atlantic, even on down there towards Tennessee and Alabama. This is where that best chance for thunderstorms will be focused along this. Makes sense since the low is actually there along the East Coast. There will be potential for severe weather in some of those zones. We'll also watch for some isolated severe storms back there towards the high plains. So it's going to be a pretty active day on Wednesday with some flooding concerns along that front as well. This is that same one that produced that severe weather in the Midwest earlier this week, but we're going to continue to watch it slowly make its way on down there towards the southern and eastern United States. This is as we go towards our Thursday. Now we're making our way into our July 18th. The Northeast starting to clear out, but we're still watching showers and thunderstorms, at least according to this model and many others for parts of the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, the South Central U.S., and the lower Mississippi Valley. Texas also getting in on some of that action, as well as Florida. But this thing is slowly trying to drift on out of here. It's going to get stuck, though, on the way out. So heading towards our Friday and really all the way into the weekend, parts of the Gulf Coast shores, the southeast shores there of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, down there to Florida, we'll be watching some pretty consistent thunderstorm as well as flooding and isolated severe weather chances as we go towards the weekend time frame because of that lingering front. Our next piece of energy that's going to begin carrying us towards next week is going to get going here in the central United States with an upper level low, moving through the Rockies into the north central plains, heading out of Friday towards our Saturday. That will spark some daily chances for some storms up here in the high plains, and eventually we're going to see some of that energy in the northern plains coming out of Saturday into Sunday, going towards Monday, merge with some of that lingering front energy down there in the southeast, and look at what that does. It looks like it's going to have a pretty hefty product of some afternoon showers and thunderstorms at the minimum from really the upper Midwest, down the Mississippi Valley, all the way over here to the southeast. This is as we go towards Monday, July 22nd, in the late afternoon into the evening. From this point on, it's a little uncertain exactly what occurs, but it looks like the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and Northeast regions will start to see thunderstorm chances go back up as we head towards Tuesday to Wednesday of next week, returning with some moisture there. But let's talk about the current moisture. I want to break down Wednesday's severe weather threat. Then we'll talk a little bit more about the precipitation and flooding risk for the next few days. Then we'll talk about the cool down. Let's start with that severe weather. My ONW severe scale from 0 to 7 shows up to a level 3 of 7 risk there from parts of Virginia all the way on up to New Hampshire for severe weather, as that cold front will spark the risk for East Coast severe storms Wednesday. That focused quarter of that highest probabilities from New York to Virginia. Damaging winds will be the main threat as strong jet stream energy moves across the region. There will also be that isolated severe weather threat you see there in the dark green shade from Wyoming down to the far northern panhandle of Texas. That is going to be that high plains wind and hail threat there. Both of these areas really looking at wind and hail as the primary threats, though an isolated tornado here in the northeast can't fully be ruled out. Let's get into the timing of what could occur in the northeast. This is, a simulation, so it's not necessarily going to be 100% accurate, but here we go out of the late morning towards the early afternoon. This is as we go 10, 11, 12 o'clock on our Wednesday. Probably seeing some showers and storms exit parts of Ohio and West Virginia, moving into Pennsylvania and New York. Some of those that enter central Pennsylvania, central New York, as early as the late morning hours could certainly pack a punch with some strong gusty winds. That would be the main threat out of storms that start to go severe earlier in the day. By the time we go towards the early afternoon hours, 1 to 3 o'clock, we'll probably see the leading edge of some of that earlier day precipitation move through other areas of New York and the New England region, really. And other outflow boundaries will also start to spark some new storms, so we could certainly see all the way from places like Washington, D.C., all the way up to Albany, New York, some at least isolated to scattered coverage of severe storms. There are going to be multiple little pulses of energy moving across the northeast throughout our Wednesday here, so it looks like there's going to be this broad chance that we could have multiple rounds of some hefty thunderstorms with gusty winds as their main threat. You see some of those from Boston down to D.C., also some back there towards central New York and down to central Pennsylvania as we go towards 5 to 6 p.m. going to be a interesting rush hour, to say the least, on our Wednesday evening for a lot of commuters there in the northeastern United States. By the time we go towards the midnight hour, of course, though, things will wane down after the daytime heating goes away. Just to refresh you on some of those threats with one of my newer custom graphics, let me know how you like these types of custom graphics down there in the description. This is what's really bringing up that level 3 of 7 on the ONW severe scale for Wednesday in the Northeast. If you're in that yellow zone, scattered damaging winds 55 to 65 miles per hour are expected. Other areas, damaging winds are the main threat, even if you just have the isolated threat as well. And then hail and tornado threats are down at around a level 1 of 7 on my severe scale. So again, the wind is what's carrying the threat, but you still can't fully rule out the hail or tornadoes, so definitely be prepared for that threat, especially there from the mid-Atlantic on up there into parts of New England. Let's move away from that and let's start talking about the precipitation and the flood threat, severe threat, all of that through the rest of this front as we go towards the back half of the week. Here we go towards our Thursday, July 18th. In the early morning, this encompasses Wednesday's precipitation because these are 12-hour windows, so from Wednesday 2 p.m. to Thursday 2 a.m. in the morning. Notice where that flood threat will be with our Wednesday storms up here. It's going to be from New Hampshire all the way back down there to Maryland, maybe West Virginia, parts of Kentucky as well, where we'll have at least an inch of rain in some of those heavier thunderstorms, upwards of 3 inches in the locally highest amounts there. We'll also be watching some of the heavier precipitation that not only moves through those areas, but also down here out of a locally heavy pocket of storms that could move through southeastern Oklahoma, parts of northeast Texas, northern Louisiana, and southern Arkansas. Some 2 to 4 inch totals will be on the high end there, but not fully ruled out. By the way, even as we close out this upcoming week, we're definitely going to be watching some of that heavier precipitation in New Mexico, parts of Colorado up there to Wyoming and the high plains. That could also induce some flooding chances. So again, that's what we've got going on Wednesday into our early Thursday. Now let's jump ahead to our Thursday into early Friday rainfall areas. This is from 2 p.m. Thursday to 2 a.m. Eastern Time on our Friday morning. Look at where that heaviest rain is. Again, this is what I showed you overall in that overview earlier. Now we're just looking at how much this is going to total out to be, at least according to the Weather Prediction Center's graphics. From Alabama all the way over there to eastern North Carolina, that's where that best chance for flooding will be out of thunderstorms during that time frame. I wouldn't rule it out, though, even on down there towards southeast Texas in the Houston area. And then we start to begin to notice that new threat of rainfall, some thunderstorms that could be severe moving out of the high plains Friday night going into Saturday here. South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas could be some of the states getting involved in that. Maybe even some of the areas in the Rockies there initially with some of those storms Friday night going into our Saturday morning. And here's that merging of those two areas of heavier rainfall by the time we go towards the early part of next week. This is going to really increase thunderstorm chances from Kentucky and Missouri southward, as well as Virginia southward by Monday afternoon. So a lot of the southeast, the lower Mississippi Valley, even some parts of central Mississippi Valley, and the southern plains starting to get active. And again, from there, we'll continue to see precip roll northward with this new pattern of moisture. But let's talk more about that current front. This is going to be, the rest of this video is going to be based on that cool down and the temperatures we've got on the way. Looking at this right now, this is what we have going towards our Wednesday, July 17th with that front not fully through the Midwest, the Ohio Valley yet. You see those blues and those purples? Those indicate that we have plenty of moisture, in fact, an abundance of it across this region. That is supporting the thunderstorm threats that are especially going to make their way through parts of New England and the northeast mid-Atlantic regions on Wednesday as well. But look what happens to those blues going out of Thursday the 18th towards Friday the 19th towards Saturday the 20th in the early morning. Big changes. We go from blues and purples down to light greens as dew points go from the 70s, which are rich and moist for thunderstorms, down towards the low to mid 50s from Madison, Wisconsin to Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, down there to Louisville, Kentucky, even Nashville, Tennessee, at least down to around 55 to 60 for a dew point, at least briefly on Saturday. And then notice by next week, moisture starts to lift back northward with that new pattern I've been hinting at, and I'm sure we'll cover more in future videos. My temperature anomaly graphs show you exactly where the temperatures are going to be below and above average based on model and ensemble guidance from Texas all the way and up there, especially to the Great Lakes. That's where you can expect to be 5 to 10 degrees below average in the temperature department. This is as we go July 17th into 18th, so Wednesday going towards Thursday. The far eastern and southern coast of the U.S., as well as over there on the far west coast, being above average as we go towards the mid to back half of the week. But let's flip things on over here towards the Friday to Saturday time frame. By then, that's when we're seeing that real cool down hit places like Nashville, Tennessee, stretching all the way back on over there towards the central U.S. and Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma City, feeling the wrath of 10-degree below average temperatures heading towards the back half of the week, start of the weekend. The West, the ridging is going to be relentless, not only then, but even as we head towards the back half of the weekend and the early part of next week. We've got Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana there, well above average by as much as 15 to 20 degrees heading towards that time frame. But the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. staying a little bit more average to slightly below average, or a little bit above average, depending on where you are. Notice the mid-Atlantic could be a little above average during that time frame. Let's do another custom graphic right here for you. Again, let me know how you like these down in the comments, and take a look at the central United States temperatures. Today, Tuesday, these were the forecasted highs. Louisville, Kentucky, 93. By the time we go towards Wednesday and Thursday, 84, then down to 81. So you notice that difference of 12 degrees just from Tuesday to Thursday as those temperatures cascade on down, and the humidity does too. St. Louis, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Tennessee, all in the 90s today on our Tuesday, down to the 80s and possibly even the low 80s in a lot of those locations by Thursday. Look at that. Cleveland, Ohio, 88 today on Tuesday. The front already starting to move on through. By Thursday, you're down to 76, at least according to some of these highs I looked at earlier today on weather.gov. Wichita, Kansas, today on our Tuesday, around 97 degrees. By Thursday, in fact, Wednesday and Thursday both, around 85. That is going to be a notable difference, especially for the areas that have lower humidity that come with it. Let's take a look at some of those temperatures for the lows in the morning as well. This is Wednesday morning. Now, this is ahead of the front at this time, okay? You notice from parts of Louisiana and Mississippi all the way up there to the mid-Atlantic and northeast, we have these circles. Those in the morning, when you see these for low temperatures, those indicate record warm lows. So it's never been that warm for a minimum temperature since records have been kept. These are all in the 70s, so it makes sense that these are so far above average that they're breaking records. We're close to being so far below average for breaking records up here in parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, but we're not going to, as we're still in the low to mid-50s, so that doesn't quite break a record in this area. We'll definitely slide for some mid and upper 40s, though, in some parts of northern Minnesota and that Arrowhead region. Don't be surprised if you see that. For afternoon highs here across the Great Lakes, 70s Wednesday. It's going to be a really nice day. At least if you like the cooler air. Chicago, Illinois, only around 81, looking like 82 for Indianapolis, not Indy 2. Here we go to the Mid-Atlantic and a lot of the southern and even the western United States. This is that area that's going to be hot Wednesday. Remember, we're not behind the front yet. We will feel relief here in the southeast, and that's what I'm about to show you. Really representing on these temperatures what I was just showing you a second ago on those temperature anomaly graphs. Here we go towards Thursday. You're starting to feel the cooler air moving a little bit south, right? Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania. You're starting to feel it, right? You're starting to feel those 50s and 60s slide on in, but we've still got 70s elsewhere, so we're definitely not done with the game in getting those low temperatures down. Look at this, though. 70s will be high temperatures in parts of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, at least some mid and upper 80s at the highest there towards northern Alabama and northern Mississippi. That's better than near 100 like we've been seeing in some spots recently. That's been in Nashville, Tennessee. It's been near 100 recently. This is what you call ridging and troughing. That line right there that I just drew, it's basically the trough where the cooler air comes in behind it. So from Minnesota down there to Tennessee, that's where you feel those below average temperatures, right? Going out of Thursday, as we go towards Friday as well, I could really use some of the 70s up there in Wisconsin. But hey, I'll take my 80s down here, the low 90s, whatever we get down here in the Carolinas, right? As we head towards the end of the week and the weekend with some of those thunderstorm chances. Up there, we've got Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, some 50s and maybe a few 40s trying to slide into the picture Friday morning. And really, it's going to be a lot of the same with 70s up there Friday afternoon. I do want to point out some of these thunderstorms will keep temperatures more towards the 80s, but it will be humid for North Carolina, South Carolina, on over there towards Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Florida's not going to feel too much relief out of this. It's going to be normal Florida heat. Fronts just don't make it down there. In the West, you really need a front, but Friday, I just flipped it over to Saturday. That's what that brief flash was. Still looking at some near record-breaking highs in those boxed areas heading towards the weekend. The West has just been seeing relentless ridging, and it really needs to stop. I'll let you know when there's a better chance of a cool down out there. What I think there's a really great chance of right now, though, is those of you who are new to the channel hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like how I threw that in there. Anyway, that's it for this video. Enough of the jokes. I'll see you back here Thursday or Friday with the next one.
One Nation Weather.